It's November the 11th, lest we forget. Armistice Day marked with a visit by the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to Paris, 80 years after Winston Churchill made the same journey, and then marked the end of the First World War as the Second was ending in Paris alongside General de Gaulle. These images from the tomb of the unknown soldier at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, and President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer walking alongside one another in what looked very much like a show of friendship, an entente cordiale between the British and the French nations. It is always a moving and remarkable sight, I find, November the 11th. Christian Lequesne joins us. He's Professor of International Relations at Sciences Po. Thank you, sir, for being with us here in France 24. We appreciate your time. What does this visit of Keir Starmer to Paris at this time tell us about the relationship between France and the UK?
Well, first of all, it's highly symbolic because it's the 11th of November, as you just said, and it's also 2024, the 120th anniversary of the Entente Cordiale. So that's the symbolic. Regarding politics, well, it's not a secret that the relationships between France and the UK were not very good since Brexit. It was difficult, especially with Johnson. It was a bit better with Rishi Sunak. So now probably what both sides want to do is to reconnect and try to have another tone in their relations, speaking about the future of EU, speaking about Ukraine. So going back to a normal relation after a period of tensions.
Indeed. The two men, we understand, spoke about Ukraine, spoke about the situation in Gaza. Just talking about Ukraine first, how important now do you think will the French and British position be, given the obvious threat from Donald Trump if he decides to withdraw funding, but also given what's happening in Germany right now, given the confusion over the government there? Clearly, there are issues in Germany to be sorted out. How important will the Franco-British relationship be for Ukraine going forward?
Well, I think the most important issue is the election of Trump, probably more important than what's going on with domestic politics in Germany, because as you know, during the campaign, Trump and his elected vice president, Mr. Vance, announced that they're going to organize a ceasefire directly with Putin, and that in 24 hours everything will be solved. So, of course, this is going against the interest of Ukraine. This is going against the interest of Europe as well. So it's more important than ever that all the European capital, and especially those who have military resources, and this is first of all France and the UK, have a dialogue and well, are clear about what to do if Trump decides to go for a settlement with Putin, which is unacceptable in terms of respect of the sovereignty of Ukraine. So we have to be realistic also. It's probably it will probably not be the case that Russia will give up all the territories already annexed. So I don't think this is realistic. But there are limits in what is acceptable, and France, UK, but also Germany will have to express a European voice.
Indeed. Now, Germany, of course, important because it's the European nation that supplied the most military hardware to Ukraine so far. France and Germany, some say, haven't met the obligations and the things that they said that they would give. So that's obviously an issue they might be taken up on. Do you feel that France and Britain can bridge that gap, that they can get in to make up that sort of shortfall that there is on getting the hardware to Ukraine?
Well, it's not easy because of budgetary situation. Of course, if you want to raise your military spending, you need to invest public money. And as you know, both countries, UK and France, now are in a process of controlling the public deficit and trying to clear up the finances. So some political choice must be done in both in London and in the UK. But if we just abandon Zelensky and decide,
because Macron
Trump
said he's committed to Ukraine winning. He says Ukraine must win.
Yes, well, of course, this is discourse. I'm not sure that Ukraine must win. Ideally, Ukraine must win, but the objective is that Ukraine gets a deal which is acceptable, right? And that we do not totally abandon Kiev. Because Kiev wants also to join the EU. Kiev wants to respect the principles of liberal democracy. So all this, even if the UK is not a member of the EU anymore, the principles which are defended by London remain the same, right, than the EU in terms of freedom, liberal order, etc. So this is why it's important that in this period of high instability in Washington, D.C., again, we must have a strong dialogue, not only between Paris and London, but between all Europeans. So it's including also Berlin and Warsaw.
Christian Lequesne of Sciences Po, Professor of International Relations. Thank you for your insight and thank you for your time, sir. Thank you very much indeed. That's Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron together this Armistice Day in Paris.